Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another My Five Wives recap. This is season one, episode six, The Birds and the Bees and everything in between. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into this. One thing that I've noticed is that the titles and the number of it is off because something funky is going on with what's listed on one thing versus what's listed on another. So my sequences, like the season one and episode six of this being titled The Birds and the Bees, some people on certain streaming services have it listed as episode five. But I've gotten mine off of HBO Max. I also know that the series is also on Tubi. For those of you who do not have HBO and you want to watch it, it's on Tubi as well and it's for free. All you got to do is download the app to watch it up there. Up until this point, Brady has been okay with me, but this time around, this episode, there are a few things that I did not like about Brady. First thing that I did not like was the way that he speaks about dating. It's a little juvenile, adolescent, somewhat cringy to me. You have to be realistic about the times that you're in, which is that you are no longer a part of the church that you once were a part of. I don't know how often they have their own personal church together as a family, if they do something like the Browns where they do it every Sunday in the beginning and then it falls off or what. But with that being said, I just don't think it's realistic to tell your children that they can't hold hands with someone that they're interested in until they're 18. Yeah. I also did not like that it felt to me, and it could be the edit, that this episode was an episode where Rosemary got slighted multiple times. First, when it came to her anniversary, and then the second time was when, rather than being with her on her night, that he decided to stay at Paulie's and wait until September arrived home from a birthday dinner. It's just a dinner. Why did you make such a big deal out of a dinner? Why did you decide that you would stay over there? If you were that concerned, it's not like you live miles and miles apart. Like, the homes are in walking distance of each other. So call the house and find out, is September home yet? Or leave and then go over there momentarily until, she gets back. Once September comes back, or if she's supposed to be there at 9, at like 8:50, you head on over there and you wait to see her. I just felt like it wasn't right. But let's get into the episode. So we begin the episode with Brady and the wives having a family meeting. He wants to make sure all of his wives are given their due time and he's caught up on his anniversary. As a reminder, 10 years for anniversary celebrations are a week, 15 years is a weekend, and in between that is an overnighter. Brady is smiling like he's accomplished something here, but you're not caught up, Brady, hun. He was supposed to do an anniversary overnighter with Rosemary 3 months ago, and he's yet to do it. And rather than doing that first, what he's doing is that he is going to take Noni on her scheduled overnight getaway. I personally, I'm going to be honest, y'all. Y'all know I'm not going to lie. I would have an attitude. I would have an attitude if it's my turn to go and you skip me, even though you're behind on me, and then take this other person when I've been waiting longer. It's just me personally. Maybe I'm wrong in that. Let me know down below. So the fact that he is taking her when Rosemary still hasn't been on hers leaves Rosemary to wonder when she's going to get her time. I want to know why it's taking so long. Is she unable to get time off work? Is school interfering? Like, what's the reason that he's been unable to celebrate with her? This, of course, in my opinion, would probably create a little bit of resentment either towards him or maybe even towards Noni, because here Rosemary is waiting for her turn, but Noni is getting to jump the line. He's happy that he's going to be able to celebrate Noni. The look on Rosemary's face as he's sitting here talking about how he's gonna take Noni away, you can tell that she's not happy about it. But despite her feelings and her being hurt, we don't see her say anything to Brady. We don't see her be rude to any of the other ladies. Instead, what she actually does is agree to watch one of Noni's sons while they're gone. So it's just going to show you how, even in that, she's still looking out for Noni and Brady by watching their child. So Noni feels like this is, their 16th year anniversary, and it would be a great time while, they're on their overnighter to discuss having another baby, even though the man's been overwhelmed. Before heading to their bed and breakfast, or as I like to say, bread and breakfast, they're staying in Utah. They stop at a restaurant for lunch. They can't check in until the bed and breakfast until 5. So Noni decides that this is the right time to feel Brady out on the topic of having another baby. She tells us that there has been some financial issues in the past, but at the end of the day, that does not matter. What matters is being able to hold that precious baby. I actually disagree. I think that you knowing that finances are a problem and you deliberately, even though you know finances are a problem, decide to have a baby, I think that's very selfish, especially because you've already had multiple children and that takes time away from the other children and the other wives just because you want to have a baby. So the decision has been made. As Brady says, something just clicked, and he now agrees that he wants to have a baby with her. This isn't making any sense to me. If Rhonda in another scene feels like one of the reasons why she can't quit her job is because of finances, then why is it that Noni doesn't have a problem creating another life and putting more of a strain on finances? Like, what is it that Noni is seeing that Rhonda isn't seeing? Or is Noni seeing it, but she just doesn't care? So Noni and Brady arrive at their interesting looking bed and breakfast. I personally wouldn't stay there. And here's the thing, I like the cabin look if I'm going to a cabin or something like that, but it just didn't seem very like a romantic space to me. Like, to me, if I'm going somewhere for an anniversary or something like that, I want that to look better than what I have. And where they were at didn't look like it was something that spectacular. I guess they just enjoyed being alone together and not having any kids there. But me personally, I would stay there with some friends. I wouldn't be there with my man. That's just me. Brady can't wait to hear, Noni make the bed creak. And just like that, I lost my spot because I was being a smart butt. Yo, I really lost my. I mean, she did say something about the creaky bed, and he did say he can't make wait to hear it creak or whatever. And she's like, "I'm just joking" or whatever, but no, she was serious. So Noni lets us know that although they decided to go through with having a baby, that they will not be announcing it to the other wives. That they don't like to go there. As a woman, you don't want to think about the sexual relationship that your husband is having with another wife. She doesn't need to let the other sister wives know that she'll be having sex with her husband every time it's her night. I could be reaching. Y'all will let me know down below in love. But to me, something about that comment to me was a little underhanded, because you said you wouldn't let them know, but you just said it here in the confessional that you wouldn't let them know that you're planning on having a lot of sex with them, but here you are. I can't wait to start, having a baby, to start the process of having a baby. So you kind of are letting them know. Anyways, if you truly didn't want them to know, I don't even think you would mention this at all. And I don't know if it's a smug look or if it's a like, yeah, I'm getting what I want as far as having another baby. But she looks happy to tell us that, she's not smiling or anything. It's just her eyes. Her eyes have a little sparkle in telling us that. The ladies, they have their night. They come back home. The ladies end up giving Noni an anniversary gift. It's a towel set. That's so weird to me. So earlier during the family meeting, the subject of dating came up. The moms want their kids to be social because they already stick out like sore thumbs. I'm adding that part. They talk about how different their kids are and how the other kids, do things that they don't do, and they don't have as much interactions and stuff like that. So I'm adding, I'm taking liberties and saying they don't want them to stick out like sore thumbs. The subject of holding hands comes up, and Rosemary lets Brady know that, not only her daughter, but she thinks it's ridiculous, as do some of the moms. Brady expects for boys to come to him and ask him for permission to hold his daughter's hand. While Polly and some of the other moms say, you never did that, you never approached my father when we were dating, kind of showing the hypocrisy, and they laugh about it. So now they want to at some point get together so they can determine what the rules will be when it comes to dating. So Polly points out that when it came to her daughter Carly and dating, she and Brady decided amongst themselves what the rules would be for dating. I don't think Polly liked the idea of everybody else deciding that. Because she was the only one who really spoke up about it. I think that she preferred to have it where it be a child by child, wife by wife thing. But the other moms, which Noni says, feel like they should have the same rules across the board, especially because they currently have a lot of kids who are close in age. So they're going to have a lot of teens growing up together. I do agree with Noni that it should be the same rules across the board, especially because what happens is there's going to be a comparison happening, and there will also be division if one set of kids are allowed to do something where the others are not. But I also feel like when it comes to parenting, it should also be the same thing across the board. Resentment and jealousy and frustration will come up if you're not doing the same thing and making it even in everything, making your parenting the same and all of those things, which goes back to why I don't think that this will work for me, because I don't think I would be okay with another mom trying to tell me how to parent my mom, which is why I think I may review the Polly Family, because I watched one episode of that Polly Family and I found myself really, really irritated. I don't know yet. Don't hold me to it, but I'm thinking about doing it. Anyways, so Brady agrees that they should have the same rules across the board and says they need to come back together with the rules for teen dating. It doesn't last long though, because in my opinion, y'all tell me yours, Polly tried to do her own thing with her daughter September. So it's almost time for dinner. Brady and Polly's 15-year-old daughter September is sitting on the couch with ripped jeans. This is another thing that I didn't kind of like. Brady proceeds to make fun of her jeans in front of everyone because there's like rips all across the front of it, saying, I have money to buy you new pants. Nothing bad there. I didn't like him telling her that she looked like a hobo. Um, September tells us that her dad can be annoying. I don't know if it's a trauma response for me or what, but I have a problem when a child, an adult, anyone is made to be feel like overly self-conscious about their appearance. And it may be because of some things that I went through in the past. I don't know, when I was younger, but I just feel like coming down on her or saying something about her clothes, even though he was joking, there was still a little bit of him not really liking her pants. And her older brother kind of trying to chime in about it too. Have that discussion with her with it where it's just you and her, not in front of everybody else. So Brady basically lets us know that he doesn't always like the kind of the choices that the kids make, or I guess it would be the moms allow the kids to make when it comes to their clothing. We later see September tell her mother Polly that a dude asked her out to dinner. He's a junior. I said the fact that she's calling him a dude lets me know that she likes this young man, because it sounds like she's trying to, remove herself, like the further remove, oh, he's just a dude. What's the dude's name? Anyway, so her mom wants to know if she can talk to his mom or dad, because she doesn't know him and she doesn't know his parents. She asks who's attending the dinner. Um, she says his parents, his aunts, his uncles. It's a birthday dinner, and Polly wants to meet them. And here's the thing. I don't know why Polly didn't follow through with that, or Brady, but I personally, because of who I am, I'm that parent. I need to talk to the parents involved when it comes to my child hanging out with your child, especially when they're that age. My son is now 18. I know, I can't believe it, right? And there's been a little bit of a transition because I do know, his friends, I do know their parents, but my role is not the same because I've met them and I have over time grew a certain level of trust with my son. If he tells me that he's going to his friend so and so's house, I'm gonna check my location on the phone, see that he's there and he's arrived safely, and then that's that. It's not a whole bunch of other exchange. But this young lady is 15, and I think that it is more than okay for her mom to want to know, where she's going. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people will take advantage of you and hurt you and harm you, and you want to be familiar with people so that you know that you're placing your babies in safe hands. So I don't blame her for any of that. Polly seems like she's willing to allow her to go to this dinner, but she says, let's see what dad says first. So September, of course, doesn't really want to talk to her dad because she feels like her dad is overprotective. Honey, I mean, not say all. I know my father is like that. A lot of men are overprotective when it comes to their daughters. They're overprotective when it comes to their kids, but it's something about the daughters thing. Like I don't know what it is, but yeah, my father, yeah, ridiculous when it comes to dating. Ridiculous. I already said it before that I wanted him to meet my boyfriend when I was in college my freshman year, and he's like, why he's not gonna last. Like he was really, really, and still is funny about who you introduce him to. So September ends up telling him the plans. She's one of those young ladies that thinks she knows everything. She says she's not a child. But honey, at 15, yes, you are. You may be a young adult, but they're still young in front of it. You may be 15, but there's still teen behind it. Like you're a teenager, boo. Like let's be clear. His initial response, because of how she's answering him, is that no, you can't go. And what we end up seeing in this moment, in my opinion, is a dad that cares about his daughter and wants to know what's going on. So he makes it clear that this is not a date, that he wants the phone numbers, that she better make sure that she comes home at her scheduled curfew. um he says you need to find out what time that will be. You need to make sure you're not riding alone with that young man. You need to make sure you're riding in the car with him and his parents. And your sister is going to take you to his place, the drop off, and she's going to let me know whether or not you are following the rules. And if it's a thing where you're trying to get in the car with him and you're going to be alone with him, you will not go. I am okay with that. I think that that was very reasonable of him. Of course, he's like the whole thing, like if you don't come back, I will call the cops. And he does the protective father thing. What annoyed me about this scene, though, after this, was that rather than going to Rosemary's, who scheduled that night, he actually stayed at Paulie's to wait for September to return. I don't know if it's the edit, but the way that it looked, y'all tell me what you think. That's what's happened. Rosemary is at home, and you could tell she's unhappy because, as she says, her time with him is already short. So she is folding clothes, saying how sometimes things come up with one of the kids, which requires Brady not to be there. I do not feel like this should have been one of those instances, especially because he said it wasn't a date. So if it's not a date, why do you need to be there when she gets home? So we end up seeing Rosemary go to bed, and one of their kids, I think, was in the bed. So it doesn't seem like she thinks that he's gonna even come home. Or maybe if he does come home, he's not gonna be allowed to be in the bed. I don't know. But it just didn't require him to be there all night. I feel like Rosemary had every right to be upset. You guys tell me what you think, but I'm sure she's probably not gonna address it. So September got home before curfew, which was 9 o'clock. He was really excited. He gave her a kiss and a hug, and told her that he's glad that she had a good time. And he lets Paulie know afterwards that he's gonna have a talk with the kids about this whole dating thing. You should have did that prior to the date if you were gonna do it. Just my opinion. So let's go ahead and talk about Rhonda. So Rhonda still wants to adopt a baby. Given her current situation with her health, I'm surprised to hear that. We'll get into it. So it's her night. She lets Brady know that she spoke with someone from the adoption agency, And that person let her know that the cohabitation law has nothing to do with helping her when it comes to adopting as a polygamous woman. Brady wants them to talk to the lawyer about it, because he doesn't understand it, and he doesn't get why they won't just talk to them. And that's what they're doing. If she got a phone call from someone, then that means you're being talked to. No one is refusing to speak to you. I don't get what else you want them to say. If you're concerned about something, how about you start with the price of it? Or how about you make the phone call to your attorney prior to even reaching out to an adoption agency? So Brady, we later see, decides to talk to an attorney because he does not believe what Rhonda told him about the cohabitation law. So he talks with his attorney, and the attorney lets him know that it's true, that nothing has changed in regards to cohabitation when it comes to adoption. He is acting like they're against polygamists, but they're against people who do not have a legally binding document saying that they're married. Unpopular opinion coming from a single mother. To me, it gives a little bit more cushion if you're giving a child to a loving family who you believe will not have a divorce. Let's be clear, either way, there's a risk there, but there's a lot of steps that come with adoption, and they're in place for a reason. And I feel like him getting upset because they don't want to put a child in a home where you're not predominantly in it, I don't understand how you would have a problem with that. I would think that the adoption agency, hopefully, is trying to look out for the best interest of that child, who more than likely has already had some abandonment issues, depending on their age, or felt alone and things of that nature at times. They don't need to come into a household where they get a part time dad. That's my opinion. You tell me yours. So, the attorney lets him know that, you have two options. Rhonda can do the adoption on her own, but she cannot be cohabitating with you if she decides to do it. Or you can try to see about adopting in another state. And the only places that he knows of that have more liberal laws when it comes to adoption at this point are Oregon, Colorado, California, and Washington. The way when they heard the word Washington, Brady and Rhonda lit up, I was laughing because y'all not going to know Washington, at least not right now. The attorney lets him know that if you're trying to do this, you're going to have to find an attorney that specializes in multiple state adoption. Brady feels like Rhonda, okay, so that's the end of that. They're gonna think about it. He's gonna look into it. So then we go to Brady coming to Rhonda later on, telling Rhonda that, he feels like she needs to quit her job because she works really long hours from morning to night. And that's kind of taken away from her time with the family and the kids. He says that this might be something that she needs to do, especially if they're going to go through with the adoption. He's worried that she may be overextending herself with taking care of her kids and then adding another child to it. Rhonda is visibly concerned because apparently her job is one thing that keeps her sane. She says it provides her with financial security. It allows her to be more than just a mom. It gives her time to socialize with others. Let me tell y'all something. When I had my son, his father asked me to please stay home for a year because we didn't want to just put him in any facility. We wanted to make sure that he was good to go. I, of course, was breastfeeding and all those things. So he wanted me to stay home for a year. After 9 months, I was over it. After 9 months, I couldn't take it anymore. I missed having my own money. I missed being able to do whatever I wanted to do when it came to my spending and things of that nature. And I just was ready to go back to work as soon as possible. Like I was, when I say I was over it, I was over it. So I completely understand what she's saying when she was like, it gives her kind of like an escape and time to socialize, because just being a mom is it's a lot that comes with just being a mom. Let me be clear. That's not no easy task. That's a job in itself. It takes a lot out of you because you're having to take care of a household and a child, and in this case, multiple children, all while still trying to, have little pieces for yourself, moments where it's just you. But that also goes back to, you got a lot of kids and you want to add another one to the plate. Okay. So she tells Brady, I really enjoy talking with adults. And honestly, I don't get to see you that much. Meaning, you're sitting here telling me that I need to quit my job. But what does me quitting my job have to do with how often I see you? Because I'm still going to only see you like every fifth night. So we see later on that Polly goes to speak with Rhonda. Rhonda is surprised to see her at the home, which means that this is not something that they do often. I wonder if the two of them don't hang out together often, or if Polly doesn't come over there often. But she made a point of being surprised, a pleasant surprise that, Polly came over there. So Polly wants to know what's going on because there apparently was a day where she ended up watching one of Polly's kids, and Polly's daughter, I believe it was, ended up going to an appointment with Aunt Rhonda where x-rays were done. This is when we find out that she has been having some symptoms again because she has a history of cancer in the family, that she's had a few breast cancer scares to the point where she says they check on her every few months to make sure that she does not have cancer. I don't in her breast. I don't know how that works. I do know that my mother had a scare before and she ended up having a biopsy done. It actually happened more than once, and then another time they ended up having to drain fluid. Like I've heard of instances where you get checked a lot for that. Speaking of, I need to schedule a mammogram because I am 40. Um, with that being said, she is concerned and she has every right to be concerned. She's concerned because when her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, they didn't even really have time to process it. She said it went from her having cancer to her dying. So she's beginning to cry as she thinks about the possibility of what that means for her and not being there for her children. And Polly is crying as well as comforting her. She says that she knows the symptoms at this point, and she's been feeling some of the symptoms. So Polly's like, okay, so what are we doing now? Like, where do we go from here? So she says, I have a physical scheduled, and from there I'll probably have a mammogram, and then we'll just go from there. Polly lets her know, that she's going to be there for her. She then changes the subject from that to, with everything that's going on, I feel like Brady is right and that it may be time for you to stop working. And Rhonda looks somber in this. Rhonda don't want to stop working. She looks somber. She says, Paulie says, like, your kids need you. And Rhonda is worried about the finances and losing a job that she loves. And, letting down the moms also by not working, because if she stops working, the finances that she brings into the home will now be removed from the pot. Paulie lets Rhonda know, like, that's the least thing you need to be worried about. Don't worry about how we're going to react to you not working. You have to do, what's best for you and the kids. And they hug, and she lets her know they can get through this together. And it's a beautiful scene because we get to see a moment where they're talking with each other about something, very important. She asks her not to say anything to the kids about cancer. And Paulie tells her she won't say anything, but you can tell that Paulie is concerned for Rhonda, and you can tell Rhonda is concerned for herself. So I'm listening to all of this that is going on, and I just don't understand why exactly it would be a thing where you're going to add yet another stressor, which would be adoption, to your plate when you have to figure out what's going on here with your health. Because the possibility of having cancer is a big thing, and stress and obesity, in which and all these other things sometimes are correlated with cancer. So try to, not add on to your plate by going through this whole adoption thing, because it's not going to be an easy thing. I remember when my aunt and my uncle were in the process of adoption, and they spent a lot of money for the mother in the end to decide that she wanted to keep her child. And what made it more complicated was it was an international adoption, because my family, as I said before, is from Jamaica, and they were adopting this little girl from Jamaica. So, a lot of money went into it. We were looking at, pictures and all these other things of this beautiful baby, thinking that, we would eventually have her, my family would have her. And after 2 years of going through that process and being devastated by finding out, like, no, and they even went out to meet her a couple times, like, yeah, it was just a no. So, and it did cause some stress and some strain. So that's all I was thinking about when I heard that. Y'all, sorry for rambling. Let me get back to my notes. Okay, teen talk. So Brady meets with all of the teens for this dating conversation. That makes me proud that I've had the conversations that I've had with my sons. With my son. So Brady lets them know that they can't date until they're 16, and those dates will be group dates. And as far as dating on their own, they will have to be 18. Some of the teens, mainly the girls, don't like it, while others, like his oldest son, do. I'm not surprised. That young man has a bunch of sisters. You don't really like to think about your sisters dating. He says that he didn't kiss until he was engaged, and he'd love for his children to do the same. Most of the girls think that that's crazy, and they don't want to wait or be held back by a rule. He doesn't want them to be flippant with their bodies. As far as sex is concerned, no sex until they're married. Wishful thinking. Didn't even come out my mouth right. Wishful thinking. That was a request of my parents, especially my mother, for me to wait until I got married. And I was gonna do it, y'all. I was, and it's obvious I didn't. I got a child. So I just feel like for me, for what I said to my son, and I think I've said this before, I would prefer for you to wait until you're married. I think it's unrealistic for me to say that, though, considering. But my desire is for you, when you do decide to have sex with someone, for it to be somebody that you care about, for it to be somebody that you love, for it to be with someone that you can see a future with. Because I don't want you to just be poking everything just because you can. And for you to understand that there are certain emotions that come with that. You think you're going through a lot of back and forth now with the stress of the girl needing you to be on the phone with her more and all those other things. You ain't seen nothing until you decide to be intimate with her. So take your time. And I think that it's important that we're honest with our kids about these things. I remember my mom, her thing was, it hurts. Don't do it till you get married. Lady, like, what? So that's my approach. He says when it comes to dating, his rules aren't changing because the teens didn't come up with a good enough argument to persuade him into changing his rules. He asked them if they have any questions. I think it was Rosemary's son asked his dad if it's okay for them to date other species. That made me laugh, as did the others. Um, One of his daughters wants to know how he feels about them dating someone who is a part of or desires to be a polygamist. And he tells his daughter it's okay to marry into plural marriage, but he cautions her to make sure that it's a really, really good man. He says, the man who has the same progressive ideas as me. I want my children to have the same access to free thought, of equality and symmetry, and racial equality, gender equality, and marriage equality. All these things that many times are lost within the polygamous community. And I said, I think that's beautiful that that's the way he thinks. Unfortunately, whether it's in the polygamous community or monogamous community, not everyone wants people to be free thinkers. And I think that it is really, really beautiful that that's what Brady wants for his kids, that he wants them to do whatever it is or be with whomever it is, it seems, that they desire, because he talks about racial and gender and things of that nature, and that they're just happy. I don't think those things will ever change, but it is a beautiful thought. So overall, Brady still is a good guy. He just got on my nerves with those few things that I listed, because I really felt badly for Rosemary. And I don't know if it's just the way that they're making it seem, if it's the way they edit it, but she just looked really sad every time they talked about the fact that she wasn't getting time. First, you don't get time for your anniversary. It's a whole 3 months. How many other dates has he gone on since then? I don't know. But y'all, let me know what you thought of this one. If there's something that I didn't talk about that you want to talk about, feel free to put it down below. Thank you guys so much. Like the video as it helps the channel. Until next time. Oh, let me put me big so you can see my piece.